Is this frame ready to be harvested? I mean, it's not all the way capped over. This is a top question that a lot of new beginners and experienced beekeepers struggle with. Can I harvest this frame, or does it have too high of a moisture content? Look at that. It's not capped over on both sides, so we're a little bit worried about it. Well, what about a frame like this? It's capped over on one side, but not all the way capped over on the other side. Will that ferment and go bad? And what about a frame like this, capped over on both sides? What's the moisture content in this frame, or all of these frames? Hey guys, David Burns, good to be with you today. We're going to actually dive into these frames and actually take a refractometer moisture test and see if these frames are high in moisture content, or are they spot on, and are they ready to be harvested? Let's get right into it. It's the time of the year when we're harvesting a lot of our frames, and sometimes you just have some frames that aren't all the way capped over, and you're kind of worried about getting too much moisture in your honey, because what happens is if you have a lot of moisture, usually over 18 or 19% moisture level, and if you have a lot of yeast in there, that's natural yeast in the air, then what can happen is it can cause your honey to ferment. In other words, you bottle it up, it looks beautiful, you sell it to your customer. A few weeks or months later, they open it and it goes psh, like a can of beer. And you're like in big trouble, because now they think your honey is not any good, and actually it's not. So you don't want to harvest your honey if the moisture level is too high, and sometimes it's high because the bees haven't capped it over. Bees are actually measuring it, and when it gets to their preferred moisture level, they will cap it over like you see here, and then they work their way and dry it out by flapping their wings over it and blowing air, moving air across to help that nectar dry out with a low amount of moisture. And in this case, this is a good frame to look at here, because we're concerned about harvesting this frame. Sometimes you can have a little bit capped over and you don't know whether you can harvest the whole frame or not. So what we're going to do today is use the refractometer. I spent the morning calibrating it perfectly, so we're ready to take a little test. Now, in this case, this is what we always say as beekeepers, is once the frame is completely capped over like this, it means that it meets the bees' requirements for capping it over so it won't spoil under the cappings. And this is most of the way that most of us get a confirmation that our honey is ready to be harvested. But the question is, what is the moisture content in a frame like this that's capped over? And that will give us a starting point to test our other frames that are partially capped over. So let's do a little piercing, and what we want to do is kind of get some honey flowing, and we'll use that in the refractometer. Boy, that looks good, doesn't it? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Something about honey is just incredible. That's probably enough for our test. It's pretty thick. I've got a refractometer ready here. So we're going to go ahead and just place the honey on the refractometer screen and close it up and get a reading. Yep, we're going to see what this measures out to be. All right, that's probably pretty good amount to put on there to cover our blue screen up. We're going to close it, get a good smash of honey smash below the screen, and then I'm going to look through here. The reading is right at 16%. Now, before we test this next frame, guys, be sure and give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It means so much to me. Now, in this case, this is what perplexes a lot of beekeepers, because you have, you know, a good part of the frame that's capped over, but then you have maybe half, or the bottom half, that's not capped over. This is drone brood here, a little bit of drone laying here, but what we're going to do is measure the nectar that's in those cells and just see, you know, out of curiosity, what level of moisture are we going to get in the honey that's down here in these cells. So let's get some honey in the spoon. We'll take a reading. Is it almost dry enough for the bees to go ahead and harvest it, or does it still need to be dried more? So the question is, are the bees not capping this over because it's too much moisture and they're drying it more, or are they just not capping it over because maybe they're using it they're still adding more nectar to it. So what we want to do is test it and see what it reads. Let's put it on the scope and give it a test. All right, that's going to be a good amount there to give us a good test. The flies, the bees haven't found my table here, but boy, the flies sure have. Let's see what that reading is. This reading is exactly 17.5. And what you want to do, I'm kind of using my cell phone to get the actual number, but what you want to do is try to get right where it breaks between white and blue, and where the line is connecting between white and blue. That's your moisture level underwater on the right side. This is 17.5, so certainly see how this can be misleading. We might think that this is not ready yet, but it's more than ready. In fact, let's go ahead and sample this to see, since this is 17.5, it would be interesting to see if this is drier. Don't want any wax pieces in there. So even at the top where we took the honey under the caps, it's still the same as the honey that has not been capped yet. It's still, I'm sorry for the camera, I just can't get my phone to really look at that well, but it's still at the same 17.5. What we want to do next is sample this nectar in this frame that mostly is still open caps, but it's just capped in the middle just a little bit. So let's get a reading on some of the cells down here. It's a little tricky because they're not all the way filled up. All right, that's working out good. Just getting enough to put on our scope. Let's try that. Surprisingly, this was 15.5. This is a great way on how you can decide if your honey is ready to be harvested. So based on our little experiment today, even though they're not completely capped over like we saw in this frame here, they are certainly acceptable. So a refractometer like this, I'll leave a link in the description below where you can buy these. It's really worth the money. Usually they come and you don't have to calibrate it, but I do have a video that I made a long time ago on how you can take the cap off and calibrate it perfectly if that is of concern to you, but most of the time they are perfectly calibrated. Well, now I've attracted a lot of flies. Bees haven't found the place out yet, so I got to get this back in the hives that they came out of before scout bees find it. They'll be all over that. But look at this, guys. We have these Beak Squad coffee mugs available, so check out our website at honeybeesonline.com. And also, if you're in the mood for stickers, Beak Squad stickers. These are a lot of fun too. Check out the website. I'll leave a link down below in the description. Hey, I got to open a few boxes. You guys are so good about sending in boxes for me and Sherry, and I appreciate that a lot. This says it is from Tom, and I know who Tom is. You guys that live stream with us on Thursday night, a lot of you recognize names of each other. Tom is a big supporter of our live stream. Thanks so much, Tom. Look what Tom has sent. Got a little note in here. Thanks, Tom. Always good to talk to Tom. And he says, hi, David and Sherry. Here is a coffee mug for your collection. Many thanks for all you do and the many ways you have helped me. Thanks, Tom. Sorry I missed your last live show. I was working on the hives or the bees. Well, thanks, Tom. Appreciate that a lot. Look at that. Three River Falls Prowlers. That must be the name of a local high school, maybe, or a college team. I appreciate that. We got another box to open up. Look at this. There's a big box here. Let's see what's in here. Any of you guys ever want to send in a coffee mug like this one? I always have coffee time, drinking out of different mugs that you guys have sent in to me over the years. And I've got a collection from so many states. When I go and speak at different states at bee conferences, I always bring home a mug too. Now a bee has showed up, so we have to kind of be careful about scout bees sending back a waggle dance where my table is. Oh, look at this. Wow. Maple syrup, that's in strong competition of delicious honey. Let's figure out who this is from. Look at this. I don't want this to get airborne and all over the yard, but I got to find probably a note in here. I open it from the bottom just to protect addresses and names. Sometimes people don't want to be named, so I'm just hiding labels and all that. Wow, that's a beautiful bottle of maple syrup from Glosser Farms. I appreciate that so much. Jay sent this in. Jay's a B Team 6 member as well as Tom is too. So thanks guys for being a part of B Team 6 and sending these in. I'm going to enjoy drinking some coffee on the road. Maybe I'll take this to EAS when I travel in a few days and have this on my pancakes. That's really good. Join me for my live stream every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Sherry and I love to have you join us. We call you our Beak Squad family, and it's a fun time to get together, talk about bees, just ask beekeeping questions, so be sure, check it out. I'll leave a link in the description below every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Now that I've told you how to tell whether your frames are ready to be harvested or not, go out there, check if they're ready, harvest those frames of honey, extract them, bottle it. Got a video right here to show you how to get the honey. See you over there.